Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. Welcome to another edition of the Weekly Astro Forecast with me, your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works. As always, I hope that this live or this replay finds you well and in excellent spirits. All right. So welcome. All right. I guess I'll do my intro, right? So if you're new here, my name is Mel, founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. All right. So welcome. And as always, if you're returning, welcome back. This channel is everything tarot, astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you always be notified when I come out with new content. And speaking of content, if you'd like even more content, head over to Instagram and hit that follow button. I've got loads of excellent daily content. Plus, I go live over there every Thursday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time for live readings by sign. All right. So let's tell the good people over on Twitter that we are live so they can come and join us. And so let's get into it. All right. So this is going to be an eventful week. We've got some things going on. We've got a planet changing signs. We have another planet changing directions, and we've got a full moon. So definitely a week that's jam-packed with cosmic activity. All right. And of course, the planet that's changing directions is our absolute favorite, Mercury retrograde, which I don't know about you, but I've been feeling it for about 2 weeks now, and I'm pretty sure you have too. So it's officially going retrograde this week. Got the full moon in Pisces. We've got Venus going into Virgo. So interesting week nonetheless. All right. But what's interesting is that I've sort of been getting the consensus of the energy, right? You know, scrolling through Instagram and looking at other astrologers' content and stuff like that. And I thought it was just me, but there's something about the last couple of weeks that have felt so weird and so off. I feel like the energy has just been kind of crazy. And not in the sense crazy, like I feel like I'm being pulled in all different directions and there's like a catastrophe at every turn. It's more so like I'm having a hard time grasping time, if that makes any sense. Like time is becoming so less linear, and it's so odd because I'll wake up, I have a very regular routine, especially when it comes to work and stuff like that. I'll get up, go about my day, do what I need to do. And it's almost like it's as if it didn't happen, to the point where I will do a whole bunch of work and then I'll forget that I did it. And then later on, I'll be like, oh, I got to go do this thing. And then come to find out I did all of that and more. I just can't remember that I did it. And I don't know if this is a me problem, maybe my situation is off, but I get the sense that it's not just me. I feel like there's just this things are changing in such a dynamic way. And I feel like it's obviously going to affect all of us differently, right? I don't expect everyone to be feeling exactly the same way that I am, or even experiencing whatever is going on in the same way that I am. But I do think that there is something, obviously I know the astrology, right? But it goes beyond that. A couple of weeks ago, I read an article about how, time is literally speeding up. And I can definitely feel that. I feel like what used to take, 5 minutes feels like half a second now. And months feel like days, right? Let me know if you're feeling the same thing, right? So hit the chat or hit the comments below and just let me know if you've been feeling off, if you've been feeling weird, if you've been feeling like things are changing and you just can't put your finger on it, because trust and believe it's not just you. I think we're all going collectively through this shift, right? And so it brings me to Virgo season. Virgo season is always interesting, right? And funny enough, I was checking out the content of one of my favorite astrologers on Instagram, who is Eliza Kelly. And she was talking about how, we forget that Virgo is a mutable sign, right? And mutable signs are all about energy shifts. It's kind of mutable energy is a bit chaotic, right? The other mutable signs are Gemini, Sagittarius, and Pisces. And I feel like we're very aware of the chaos when it comes, definitely with Gemini. Gemini is mixy as fuck, right? That energy, you can tell Gemini energy a mile away. Same thing with Sagittarius. I feel like Sagittarius energy it's not as messy as Gemini, but I do feel like it's definitely out there. I feel like Sagittarius energy is doing the most. And then Pisces is just emotionally chaotic, right? It's like swimming in the sea of your emotions, can be very overwhelming. We get that. But when it comes to Virgo, it's almost very easy to forget that Virgo is a mutable sign, because Virgo can be very strict, very rigid, very boring. And so but what we have to remember is that Virgo energy thrives in chaos, right? Because Virgo creates order out of chaos. All of the mutable signs actually create order out of chaos. But I feel like with the other mutable signs, we just feel the chaos a lot more. But with Virgo thrives in chaos. Virgo loves mess because it gives Virgo a chance to shine, right? It gives Virgo the ability to clean up, organize, and be efficient. And so if you find that Virgo season tends to be a bit chaotic, what that's really like the purpose of that, right? The purpose of that chaos is really to get you to create some kind of order out of it. So if you find that, Virgo season seems to be a bit off, it seems to be a bit messy, there seems to be a lot going on, that's just the opportunity for you to tap into that Virgo energy and make sense of it all. All right. And it was very interesting because I'd almost forgotten that. I feel like Virgo season tends to be a bit dry. I mean, Leo season is all about the drama, right? It's in the middle, it's summertime. And so you really feel that Leo energy. But then when you get to Virgo, it's kind of like, it kind of gets swept under the rug because, at least here summer is ending. People are getting back to work. People are going back to school. And you sort of get that whole vibe. But by and large, I feel like Virgo energy, especially Virgo season, can be a little chaotic. You just got to make order and sense out of that chaos. All right. So that was my little spiel for this week. All right. And so you know the deal. If you're new to astrology, or even if you've been studying astrology and you need a refresher, I would highly suggest that you download my Astrology Basics cheat sheet. It gives you the quick and dirty on everything you need to know to start studying astrology. It includes information on the planets, the houses, the signs, and the aspects. It's an 11-page PDF document that basically gives you a summary. It distills exactly what you need to know of these 4 particular subjects so that you can start learning astrology, start understanding it better, and most importantly, begin to understand your natal chart, because your natal chart is the blueprint to your life, right? So if you're interested in getting this Astrology Basics cheat sheet, the link is in the description box below. You just got to drop your email address and you are good to go. All right. So let's get into this week. All right. So like I said, we've got Venus going into Virgo, we've got Mercury going retrograde, and we have full moon in Pisces. So the first highlight is what I like to call acts of service, and that is Venus in Virgo. Okay. Venus in Virgo is very much about serving others. It's about the practicality and the reality of love and money. Okay. Among other things, because Venus definitely represents more than just love and money. But by and large, Venus in Virgo is about being practical when it comes to love, being practical when it comes to money, being reasonable, getting things organized, and making logical sense of things, okay? And then we have Mercury retrograde, which I like to call rewind and repeat, because that's the essence of Mercury retrograde, right? So with Mercury going retrograde in Libra, it's going to be about relationships. So of all the Mercury retrogrades this year, this is the one where you might experience an ex coming back, or a relationship from the past coming back around, which may be excellent news for some and horrible news for others. It all depends on your perspective, I guess. And while Mercury goes retrograde, it'll begin its retrograde in Libra and then retrograde back into its home sign of Virgo later this month. So the energy is going to shift a bit with this Mercury retrograde. But as we begin this retrograde cycle, it's really going to be about revisiting past relationships. And then finally, we have the full moon in Pisces, and I like to call that let your light shine. This is going to be one of those full moons that's going to illuminate a lot, but it's going to illuminate a lot about ourselves, okay? And in the sign of Pisces, it's going to illuminate perhaps a lot of our subconscious wants, needs, and desires, maybe some of our insecurities and fears. It's going to have a little twinge of spirituality to it and some depth, definitely going to be hella emotional. So we're in for a treat, I guess, with this particular full moon, but I really think it's going to be good. All right. So let's get into the week and break things down day by day. All right. So on Monday, we have Venus moving into Virgo. Then on Tuesday, we have the moon in Aquarius. On Thursday, we have the sun trine the North Node, which should be extremely enlightening. And then Friday, we've got Mercury retrograde. The moon is going to be moving into Pisces. And then on Saturday, the moon is going to reach full moon status in the sign of Pisces. And then we close out the week on Sunday with the sun trine Uranus and the moon moving into Aries. So before I get into the week itself, there was also one other thing I forgot to mention. So in terms of the lunar cycle this week, we're going from waxing to full to waning. So that's another reason why I feel like this full moon is going to be pretty emotional, because on the what we're going to go from like this energy of building up to this crescendo and then to a release. Okay. So I feel like it's going to be a little bit of an emotional roller coaster, but definitely feeling those energy shifts. Okay. And so with the full moon in Pisces, again, being a water sign, I feel like emotions are definitely going to run high. All right. But in any event, let's get into the week and see what we have. So we'll start with Monday. So on Monday, we have Venus moving into Virgo, and you'll see that at the very top hand part of the chart. All right. So Venus in Virgo is very much about acts of service. You know that book, The 5 Love Languages, right? And everyone tries to figure out what their love language is. Venus in Virgo is acts of service. That is how you would show your affection. That's how you show your love under this transit. Okay. Now, Venus is in fall in Virgo, and it means that Venus is not exactly well placed. The energy of Venus is a bit debilitated because the energy of Venus, as compared to the energy of Virgo, it's kind of like a mismatch. So Venus is exalted in Virgo's opposite sign, which is Pisces. So when Venus is in Pisces, it's all about love, especially on a grand scale. It's about romance. It's about love for humanity. It's about charity, altruism, all of that stuff, right? Venus thrives in that kind of energy. But in Virgo, Venus is a bit restricted because Virgo is all about compartmentalizing things, putting everything in a neat box and making sure that things make rational sense. Now, we all know when it comes to love, and even when it comes to money, rationality can many times go out the window, right? Love is not, I wouldn't put love and rational in the same sentence, but that's the essence of Venus in Virgo. And that's why Venus is in fall in Virgo. Okay. So we express love through practical means, like taking out the garbage or paying somebody's bill, right? Like, although it's not sexy, right? And it's not overtly romantic, it does show that you care. Okay. And that's the essence of Venus in Virgo. The energy is very much of caring, of service. Okay. Doing errands, just lending an ear for someone to listen. Like those are the kind of activities and the kind of energy that Venus in Virgo exudes. Okay. But again, everything has to make rational sense. And I feel like when it comes to love, this can be a bit tough because we're not often conditioned to think of love making rational sense. We're typically conditioned to think that love has to be over the top. It has to be romantic. It has to be like a fairy tale. It has to be very idyllic, right? And Venus in Virgo is like, nope. My partner can look great. They can, be romantic, but if they're not, practical, if it doesn't make logical sense for us to be together, then it's not going to work. And again, that's the essence of Venus in Virgo. Another reason why, or another demonstration of why Venus is in fall in Virgo is because Venus loves to be self-indulgent. Venus rules Taurus, and Taurus loves luxury. Taurus loves pampering. The perfect sort of Venus activity for Taurus would be going to a spa, going shopping, spending money on yourself, buying a car, all that kind of stuff, right? Now, with Virgo being such a service-oriented sign, being self-indulgent makes Virgo feel very uncomfortable. Hence why Venus is in fall in Virgo. So spending money on yourself may not feel so good. You may be like, I could have used that money for something else. I could have saved this money. I could have put it towards something else, right? And so you may find that when it comes to shopping, while Venus is in Virgo, it sort of feels like a wet blanket on a picnic, right? Like it's just not going to feel comfortable. You're not going to feel like spending, which can be a good thing, right? Virgo loves to make order of things. And when it comes to Venus, Virgo will love to make order and sense of your finances. So that will sort of deter you from overspending, being self-indulgent, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, one of the downfalls of Venus in Virgo is that we tend to be extremely critical of ourselves and of others. So in our relationships, this is when you find that you become a little more nitpicky, a little more nagging, where the littlest thing will set you off or the littlest thing you'll find unattractive, right? And so that can if your relationship is on shaky ground, I feel like Venus in Virgo can really expose how you really feel about that person or what really grates your nerves when it comes to that person. So it's one of those transits that isn't necessarily the best for relationships, right? But if you're looking to get into a relationship, any relationship that's formed while Venus is in Virgo, it's going to be very practical. I'm not even going to say that it's going to be like friend zone kind of thing, right? I think that you can have a very serious relationship with Venus in Virgo. I just feel like the basis of that relationship is going to be something that's very practical and rational, right? Like, you're a doctor, that person's a lawyer. It looks great on paper, right? Like it makes logical sense to be together because we're in the same pay grade. We're both professionals, that kind of thing. When it comes to love, I feel like you're going to approach it a lot more from a mental standpoint than an emotional standpoint, which lends itself to being a bit boring. Venus in Virgo, not sexy. It's not exciting. It's not like Venus in Pisces. That's like, a knight coming in on a white horse and sweeping you off your feet. It's not like a Venus in Scorpio that's hella sexy and deep. Venus in Virgo is like, yeah, I like you. This makes sense. We could chill. Yeah, it's really low key, right? But Venus is going to be in Virgo until the end of the month, until the 29th. And at that point, Venus will move into its home sign of Libra and things will get a lot more interesting and a little better, arguably at that point. But until then, Venus in Virgo, a little boring, but can be very productive, especially for money and finances. So this would be a great time to go over your bank statements, especially with Mercury being retrograde, and then it's going to retrograde back into Virgo. So this next month is going to be a really good time to assess your finances, assess your relationships, even like from from a rational standpoint. And this isn't just romantic relationships; it's all relationships. The perfect example, let's say you've got Scorpio rising, which makes Venus your 11th house of friendship and goals, right? So the relationships that I'm talking about with Venus and Virgo would relate to your friendships. So let's say you met a group of people early in the year and you spent the summer like doing the most. Y'all were outside, y'all were chilling, partying, all that stuff. Venus and Virgo is going to be like, are these people that are really like, are we going to hang out with these people past this summer? Does it make sense to hang out with these people? Like, what are these people going to contribute to my life? Kind of a thing, right? That's the essence of Venus in Virgo. So it may have you reassessing some of your relationships, definitely reassessing your finances and making order out of all those things. Boring, but productive. All right. So that's Monday. Now we move on to Tuesday and we have the moon moving into Aquarius. All right. And you'll see at the top right-hand portion of the chart. So this is going to be the waxing gibbous moon in Aquarius, and we are making our way to that full moon in Pisces, right? So waxing gibbous is like, I wouldn't say feeling the pressure, but it's that time to take those final steps towards the completion of your goal. Now, this month's full moon is in Pisces, right? So I want you to think back to the new moon in Pisces, which would have been back in March, right? Beginning of March, probably. At that time, you might have planted certain seeds. You might have set sort of intentions out there that you wanted to fulfill. And so with the waxing gibbous moon in Aquarius, now may be the time to take those final steps to achieve those goals or to get those intentions to come to fruition, right? Now, with the moon in Aquarius, we're attracted to things that are new, unusual. We have an instinctive need for improvement. Moon in Aquarius, I feel like it always lends itself to things like innovations, inventions, things like that, because it gets you to think outside of the box. So when it comes to your manifestations, when it comes to the goals that you've set and that you want to achieve, when the moon is in Aquarius, you really want to think outside of the box. Like, what's a different way that I could do this? What's something I haven't thought of before that maybe I can implement now that'll help me cross that finish line? Like, that's the essence of the moon in Aquarius, right? Other things with the moon in Aquarius is that it tends to be a lot more intellectual than emotional. So it tends to be very emotionally detached, which is cool because anytime you're talking about the moon, you're definitely talking about emotions. And so contrast it to like a moon in Pisces where you're hella emotional. When the moon is in Aquarius, you're more intellectual. So it gives you the ability to sort of think clearly and think into the future, right? Like, be future oriented. So maybe thinking out of the box will allow you to think past the finish line, right? Like, maybe this goal, I could take it even a step further. And without your emotions really getting in the way, you can think very clearly and be a lot more intellectual. So sort of some of the things that you would do while the moon is in Aquarius is you would get together with people, you would set goals for the future, make progressive changes, brainstorm, be innovative. Those are some of the things that thrive under a moon in Aquarius, right? But by and large, one of the major themes of Moon in Aquarius is that you have this urge for personal freedom. Like, you want to break free of the tried and true. You definitely don't want to stick to what you know. You want to experience something new, something quirky, maybe even something weird or out of the box. So things like astrology, things like the occult, they actually thrive when the moon is in Aquarius, and you may feel an urge to want to know more about these things. You may feel an urge to start learning about them. Those are sort of the things that sort of characterize moon in Aquarius. Okay. And one of the last things I'll say about this is that you want to remain positive and have faith, right? Because we're right at the finish line. The full moon is the finish line, right? And so we're just about there. And if you've ever ran a race, you'll know that at the end, that's when you push the hardest. You don't slow down because you see the finish line. You push harder so you can cross that finish line in first place. And so that's sort of the energy that we'll feel with the waxing gibbous moon in Aquarius on Tuesday. All right. So let's move on to Thursday. So on Thursday, we have the sun trine the north node. All right. This is going to be interesting. This is a good one, I feel like. So anytime we talk about the north node, we're talking about fate. We're talking about destiny. We're talking about like where you're headed in this life, right? So many times, whenever there's a north node transit or a transit to the north node, we get a little glimpse of where we're heading. It's almost like we get a breadcrumb with respect to where we're going and where we're headed, right? And what I love about the sun trine north node is that it makes that breadcrumb extremely apparent. Like, you're able to see it so well. It's in your consciousness. It comes to your awareness. Okay. It's also a really feel good kind of transit because it lends itself to things like self-confidence, being healthy, being energetic. Like, you're going to feel good. You're going to feel revved up about where it is that you're trying to go. It may even be like an aha moment in terms of finding out your direction and your trajectory, right? Now, it's easy to sort of just lump everything having to do with the north node under the umbrella of like destiny and purpose. And that's how I've described it for a long time. But recently, I've learned it's not so much about purpose, because we have more than one purpose. It's not like we have this one thing to do and then that's it. Purpose could be interchangeably used with passion, right? Or desire. And so it's not just you have one life purpose and that's what your north node is. It could be many different things. It could be passion. Like I said before, it could be a desire. But regardless, I feel like with the sun trine the north node, whatever it is that we want, wherever it is that we want to go, whatever it is that we want to do or have in this life, I feel like it's going to come into our awareness and we're going to feel good about it, essentially. So this could be being in the spotlight. This could be some sort of recognition. This could also be like a favorable relationship with someone, particularly a male figure, right? This could also have to do with children because the sun represents that vital life energy. So it has to do with children. This is good for having fun, being creative. Like I said, it's really just a feel good sort of transit. And I feel like you're just going to feel good about where you're headed or where you want to go, or have an aha moment with respect to what it is that you want to do in the short term or in the long term. So Thursday is one of those days where you're going to want to pay attention, because I think that anything that sort of comes into your purview, whether it's people, whether it's some sort of conversation, whether it's some information that you get, I feel like you're going to feel good about it, and it's going to make you feel like you're on the right track, or you're on your way to being on the right track. But you get what I'm saying, right? It's really about having that awareness of where you want to go, who you want to be, and what you want to do in this life. All right. So that's something very nice to look forward to on Thursday. So next up on Friday, we have our favorite. Mercury is finally going to go retrograde in the sign of Libra. And then we have the moon moving into Pisces. Now, it won't reach full moon status on Friday, but it will make its way into Pisces nonetheless. All right. So Mercury retrograde, there's not much that I have to say about this that you already don't know, since Mercury retrograde is like a cult phenomenon that everyone knows about it. So many people fear it. So many people use it as an excuse for shitty behavior. It's not, I'm not going to say it's not any of those things. It can be, but Mercury retrograde is actually it can be a really good thing. And I think that more people have to let that be known, so people aren't so crazy about it. And speaking of retrograde, we have five, is it five? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We literally have 5 other planets going retrograde. Plus, we have Mars getting ready to go retrograde, and Mercury is going retrograde on Thursday. So by the end of September, we will have 6 planets retrograde and 1 planet ready to go retrograde. So as much as people are up in arms about Mercury being retrograde, what about the other planets that are retrograde, right? We've survived our entire lives with retrograde planets, and nothing, there have been catastrophic things, but I wouldn't say that they're only as a result of retrogrades, right? But nonetheless, you already know the deal when it comes to retrograde. So I don't think I need to really elaborate on that too much. But the fact that it's in Libra, and Libra is all about relationships, means that this is going to put relationships at sort of the forefront of our thoughts, which can be a good thing, right? It's not the case that your shitty ex is going to come back and, whatever. The normal bullshit that everyone talks about with Mercury retrograde. But it's really a time for a do-over and a reassessment, right? It's time to clean house when it comes to relationships. Now, it doesn't mean that you just have to, chop people off and cut them out of your life. This could be cutting out certain aspects of yourself, maybe cutting out certain habits that you exhibit as it relates to relationships, right? Mercury retrograde just allows us for a do-over. It allows us to reassess, rethink, revamp things, right? One of the things that I love the most, particularly about Mercury retrograde in Libra, is that it allows you to reassess contracts. And I feel like enough cannot be said about that, right? If you're looking to renegotiate anything, refinance anything, if you're looking to get a better interest rate on something, this would be the perfect time to revisit all of those things, right? Because Mercury not only rules thoughts and communications, but Mercury rules paperwork, contracts, agreements, stuff like that. So you can use this energy wisely to reassess those things, reevaluate, refinance, all the re's, that go with retrograde. But it's a great time to sort of just revisit things and make them better. Okay. And of course, relationships. Maybe you do want to entertain your ex. That's always a possibility. So patiently wait for them to come back. Or maybe you're the ex that's coming back to somebody and wanting to rekindle something. Nothing wrong with that. All right. So you know the deal. Mercury is going to be retrograde until October 2nd. But before October 2nd, it's going to retrograde back into Virgo on September 23rd. All right. So that's something to keep in mind. And I'll discuss Mercury retrograde in Virgo when we get to that point in about 2 weeks. All right. And then we have the moon moving into Pisces. It's still going to be in the waxing gibbous phase. So it's still going to be like that build up energy, those last final steps to the finish line, sort of pushing and finding the motivation to keep going towards the completion of your goals. But of course, because it's in Pisces, it's going to be extremely emotional, going to tap into our emotions, tap into our subconscious. It's going to be imaginative and dreamy. Your intuition is definitely going to be lit. So you're definitely going to want to listen to that at that time. This is when boundaries come down. You know, whenever the moon is in Pisces, we tend to be a lot more free flowing. We tend to be a lot less guarded, for better or for worse, right? We overlook details, which may feel a little weird, right? Because currently the sun is in Virgo. And so our consciousness is sort of wired right now to pay attention to details and to find the small little pieces of everything. But with the moon in Pisces, while our mind is focused on the details, our emotions are like, fuck the details. Like, I want to see the bigger picture. It's not even seeing the bigger picture. It's actually seeing the imaginative picture, a picture that may not even exist yet. So you may feel like you're pulled into different places. You may want to hunker down and get to work, and at the same time feel like you just want to throw caution to the wind and just daydream all day. That's the nature of full moon in Pisces, right? So that's something to keep in mind. So if you've got a lot of important work to do, it may feel challenging to stay on task because your emotions may be all over the place. Work is the last thing that will make you feel emotionally fulfilled when the moon is in Pisces. So again, I feel like by the end of the week, it may be hard to get work done. It may be hard to sort of focus, especially with Mercury going retrograde that same day. I would highly suggest not making any important business decisions or maybe even important life decisions, right? You also might not want to sign contracts or bind yourself to anything because not only is Mercury retrograde and you might miss some details, but with your emotions in one place and your mind and your consciousness in another, it's going to be very hard to focus on the task at hand and what's really important. And they always say during Mercury retrograde, if you can put off signing a contract, if you can put off making an important decision, do so, because oftentimes anything signed or started under Mercury retrograde, you're ultimately probably going to have to revisit at some point in the future because things may not have worked out as you anticipated. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. All right. And then on Saturday, we have the moon reaching full moon status. It's going to be the full moon in Pisces at 17 degrees Pisces. All right. So, like I said, it's happening at 17-degree Pisces, which is the Leo degree. Okay. So I feel like there's going to be this undercurrent of love. There's going to be this undercurrent of creativity with this full moon, especially being in Pisces, because Pisces is very much a creative sign. Venus is exalted in Pisces. So love is a big thing with Pisces energy as well. Now, you're going to have to expect the unexpected because Uranus plays an important role in this full moon because Uranus is going to be trine to the sun and sextile to the moon. And so when you're talking about a trine and a sextile, these are harmonious or positive aspects. So even though things may surprise you, I ultimately feel like they're going to be pleasant surprises. Okay. So it's expect the unexpected. Again, you don't want to necessarily make any sudden moves because you're going to want to let the dust settle and see where things fall and then move from there. You may have this underlying feeling of excitement. I feel like you're going to feel like you want to do something new, something different, experience something new and something different. So if that's the case, I wouldn't necessarily like ignore that feeling. But again, I'll put it this way. If your intuition is telling you to do something out of the ordinary, then do it. Because Uranus is known as the hand of God, right? That's the planet of surprise. It's the planet of chaos. It's the planet of surrender. All right. It's also a planet of intuition. And so if you find that your intuition is telling you to do something out of the ordinary, go someplace you've never been or go someplace that you don't normally go, talk to someone out the blue, I would listen to your intuition because I feel like it's driving you and it's taking you in the right direction. I feel like our emotions are going to be illuminated. Again, being that this is a full moon in the sign of Pisces. Very emotional, very intuitive. Now, the dichotomy between Virgo and Pisces. lends itself to sort of this seesaw action, right? On the one hand, you have Pisces, which is very ethereal. It's all about faith in the unseen and the imagination. And then on the other hand, you have Virgo, which is all about reality, things you can prove, things that you can organize and have control over. So I feel like this full moon may have this undercurrent of control, right? I feel like on the one hand, you may want to exert control over things and organize things and make everything in your universe perfect, right? And on the other hand, you're sort of being urged to let go, to surrender, to, drop the reins and allow spirit to come in and assist you, allow spirit to move things around and let go of some of that control. So I feel like some of us are going to be dealing with that in various ways, right? Because it all depends on where this is going down in your particular chart. But I feel like that element of control is going to be something that we all deal with on some sort of level. So that's something to be mindful of, right? So that's Saturday. And now finally we get to Sunday. So we have the sun is going to be trine to Uranus. All right. And then we're going to have the moon moving into Aries. Okay. So the sun trine Uranus is also going to be one of those eye-opening transits. Remember I said before, the sun trine the North Node, which is going down on Thursday, it sort of allows your purpose, your passions, your desires to come to the forefront of your consciousness, right? Sun trine Uranus is kind of the same thing, right? It makes you more open-minded, more adventurous, experimental, and progressive. I feel like it's one of those transits that lends itself to improving yourself, improving your mind, improving your personality. It's also a time of heightened intuition. You may experience flashes of insight, glimpses of the future even. So if you're someone that is spiritually inclined to see things in your dreams, or you get psychic impressions, I feel like sun trine Uranus is going to heighten all of that psychic activity. Okay. There's also greater self-awareness. I feel like if I had to sum up this transit in one sentence, it would be like self-help. Well, maybe not one sentence, one phrase. It would be self-help, like improving yourself, because you're going to be aware of who you are, who you'd like to be, what you'd like to be doing, all that good stuff. Okay. So it allows us to improve upon ourselves. It allows us to be the best version of ourselves, as corny as that sounds. It also brings in unexpected changes, but the changes would be positive. All right. So this could play itself out in a variety of different ways, but I feel like it'll give us opportunities for self-improvement. It'll make us excited about life, excited about what we're doing, excited about the things that we want. It'll energize us. It's also going to allow us to leave our comfort zone. I mean, if we're talking about self-awareness and self-improvement, I feel like the sun trine Uranus allows you to venture out of your comfort zone, and it's not going to feel so jarring. As a matter of fact, I feel like you would feel excited about it, and you would feel like you're going on some sort of adventure. It would feel very comfortable to be uncomfortable in that particular regard. So it's a great transit for, again, self-improvement, for just being your best self and figuring out what you need to do to be your best self. So ultimately, I think that it is great. That's what's going down on Sunday. And then finally, we have the waning gibbous moon in Aries. So immediately from Saturday, we go to the full moon in Pisces, and then Sunday, we go to the waning gibbous moon in Aries. Okay. And so when the moon is in the waning gibbous phase, this is when the moon starts to lose some of its light, like it starts to decrease in illumination. And so spiritually speaking, it's when we start to let things go. It's when we start to surrender. It's when we start to get rid of the things that we don't want. And when the moon is in Aries, we're very proactive with whatever it is that we want to do. You have that energy of initiation, that energy of, starting something in a bold and dynamic way. So when we're talking about the waning gibbous moon in Aries, it's really about being proactive, about taking those steps to get rid of the things that we don't want. Okay. So this is, especially when the moon is in Aries, you have this motivation to start fresh, start new, and it's extremely impulsive. So this could be like waking up one day, throwing out all of your clothes, and then going shopping for an entire new wardrobe. Like that's an example of the essence of Aries energy. And so you're going to feel energetic. You're going to feel enthusiastic. You're going to feel spontaneous. And this is building from that energy of the Sun trine Uranus. Because remember, I said the Sun trine Uranus is all about self-improvement, right? And being your best self. When the moon goes into Aries, that's going to give you the push. It's going to give you possibly the physical energy to make some of those improvements. Now, you may be a bit impulsive, right? Like you may just go all in, like balls to the wall, all in, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But you're sort of urged to not only be impulsive, but try at least to think into the future as well, because the activity you take today may have lasting effects. All right. So maybe you don't want to throw out your entire wardrobe, maybe just the things that you're not wearing. Okay. So you want to tone down that impulsivity if it's a bit too reckless. Okay. It's also about being tactless and impulsive. And just being very, find that you have a lot of energy, right? And you're just all over the place. It's best to channel that energy into some sort of physical activity, whether it's sports, whether it's something competitive, could even be sex. Just channeling that energy into something physical will sort of calm you down and get you to not be so impulsive and be all over the place. But I think this is a great sort of energy that builds upon that Sun trine Uranus. So I feel like by and large, by the end of next week, we can all definitely be in a position where we can better ourselves and have the ambition and the motivation to do so. So you're going to want to take a look at, particularly with the Sun trine the North Node, I feel like you're going to want to take a look at the things that, how would I put this? So the Sun trine North Node is all about like where you're headed, right? And feeling good about that. So the things that come into your purview this week that make you feel like you're on the right track, pay attention to that. Because by the end of the week, when the Sun trines Uranus and the moon moves into Aries, I feel like it's going to be a great time to act on those things. I feel like you're going to be clear about what it is that you want to do or who you want to be or where you want to go. And then I feel like you're going to be able to act on that when the moon is in Aries. So I feel like by and large, this coming week, it's going to be eye-opening. I feel like it's going to be very contemplative and reflective, particularly with Mercury retrograde. With Venus in Virgo, I feel like it's going to get us to look at love and money in a very practical way. So I guess you could say that's pretty eye-opening as well. I feel like we're not going to be overly emotional when it comes to our relationships, especially because those are going to be up for review with Mercury retrograde. I feel like we're going to be very practical. I think that we're going to be rational and see what makes sense and what doesn't. And then by the time the end of the week comes around, I feel like when we know all this information, we can act on it and be motivated to start fresh, motivated to be our best selves. Okay. So interesting week, lots of shifts, but nothing too crazy. And I think that it'll be a good one. All right. So that has been this week's weekly astro forecast. I sincerely hope that you've been able to get at least one important information going into next week that you find useful. And if you have, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up. If you'd like to book a reading, get a natal report, or check out any of my other products and services, those links are in the description box below. So don't forget to check those out. Thank you so much for tuning in. You could have been doing anything, but the fact that you tuned in to watch this means the world to me. All right. So thank you so much. Have a great week, and I will see you next week. Take care.